What's up guys, Coach Matt and YouGoProBaseball.com. In this video, I want to talk about the two most overlooked pitching mechanics that if you master, you could add 5 miles per hour or more pretty quickly to your pitching delivery. This is good stuff. Now, if you can master these two things, you're going to see a lot of success, have a lot of success. So let's get into it. I call these two parts of the pitching delivery the angled corkscrew and the front leg fulcrum. And I want to break these down individually and talk about how you can work on them and how you can use them to increase your pitching velocity. Because if you master these, that's what's going to happen. It's the side effect of perfecting these two things. And these two things are not talked about a lot in pitching. In fact, these are probably two of the biggest issues that I see in pitchers. They're not able to do these two things, and they're losing a lot of velocity because of it. So let's talk about first the angled corkscrew. Now, this has to do with the drive in the delivery, but there's a lot of misconception about how we're supposed to drive in the pitching delivery, right? Some guys talk about really knocking this knee in. Other guys talk about staying stacked and over the backside. I think it's a combination of both, and you don't hear this talked about very often. That's why I call it the angled corkscrew. The reason is we want to create, when we're driving, we want to create energy, right, from the ground and transfer it through our kinetic chain out the ball. If we do that, we can pitch faster, right? The more energy we can create and transfer efficiently, the faster we're going to pitch. So how do we do that, right? The way that we do that is by creating this angled corkscrew that I'm talking about. We want to push this rubber away from us. We want to push the earth away from us, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? If we're trying to push this world away from us, the ground away from us, and create ground force, then we're going to have an equal and opposite reaction the other way, right? So if we can do that efficiently, then we're going to create more energy. How do we do that? The angled corkscrew is your answer. So what we want to do is, you'll hear a lot of guys talking about staying stacked over the back leg, right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay stacked over this back leg, because this is not putting me in a good athletic position. What we do want to do, though, is to drive. We want to be driving. The way we drive is not through pushing off this way. We do that at one point in the drive phase, but at first, we're creating this corkscrew. We're turning. We're trying to push this rubber away from us. This is the King of the Hill, by the way. I'm on the King of the Hill Pro. If you haven't ever seen this, it's a great tool to really work on the angled corkscrew. I sell this on my website. I'll leave a link down below. But what this tool does is the rubber actually moves backwards. So you can tell if you're creating enough energy backwards. You can hear it audibly, and the pitcher will feel it viscerally. It's like a coach in itself. You don't even need a coach to help teach the pitcher, because the pitcher is going to get that feedback instantly. So it's a great training tool. I definitely recommend everyone check it out. But the angled corkscrew is we're creating that corkscrew this way to create that energy pushing away, right? So I don't know if you can see it, but my shoe is like gripping into this King of the Hill this way, right? And you can see it. My knee is inside of my foot. Here's where I differ from a lot of pitching guys. A lot of pitching guys say you want to stay over this back leg. If we do that and still turn that foot like this. But if we're doing that, I don't have as much stability in here, right? I don't have as much to turn with. If I have good hip mobility, I can accomplish both things. I can keep my knee inside, and I can do that corkscrew, and I can still ride it, right? So I'm not leaking in too much where I'm collapsing my hip and I don't have any power to drive with except for the extension. I'm just inside a little bit. I'm not stacked super far over. I'm just inside a little bit because I have good hip mobility, right? So it's an angled corkscrew. That's all we're trying to do. You can see when I do it, my foot's gripping right here, and my heel's almost coming this way, and the ball of my feet is going this way. And that's how I'm trying to push this world, the rubber, the King of the Hill, away from me to get that equal and opposite reaction. Now, I want to be strong and hold this position as I'm moving down the mound. I don't want to collapse into it, but I also don't want to be too far stacked, because then I'm kind of sitting back. I have counter momentum, right? If I'm too far back, I don't have any momentum. I'm kind of just sitting over my backside. You see a lot of guys they just die out because they're like sitting back here. They're trying to stay back so much that they're sitting back here and they don't have any momentum, right? We want that momentum. So we got to have that angled corkscrew right here, ride the momentum and drive. I'm just going to preset this knee just inside of my foot, and I'm really thinking about that angled corkscrew as I start to get my momentum down the mound. Then I can get that extension in my ankle, my knee, and my hip as I get further down the drive phase. All right, now the second most overlooked aspect of the pitching delivery or pitching mechanics is what I call the front leg fulcrum. And in fact, I should have put this first because this is the thing that I see most pitchers have issues with, I should say. From the young ages all the way up into pro baseball, guys have issues with using their front leg correctly when pitching. How do we want to use our front leg when we're pitching? We want to use our front leg as a brace. We want to pitch against our front leg. This seems counterintuitive, right? And you may have been taught a different way, but let me explain why this is the right way. We're creating energy, again, from the ground through our connect chain going forward. But if we were to just continue going forward and ran like a sprinter and kept going this way, we don't have anything to pitch against, right? Think about a pole vaulter, right? How does pole vaulting work? They run and they stick that pole in the ground, and that's what gives them the energy to shoot up and over that pole, right? Same idea, same concept, right? This is our pole. Another analogy that I want to share with you is a car, right? If you're driving a car 100 miles an hour and you slowly hit on the brakes until you stop, what's going to happen? Nothing. You're just going to slow down and then stop, right? Imagine your car filled with all kinds of stuff. Now, let's take that same car going 100 miles an hour straight into a brick wall. What's all that stuff in the car going to do? It's going to shoot forward so fast, right? You ever seen those crash test dummy videos? You know what happens when a car hits a wall at that speed. Everything goes forward. The same thing happens with our front leg. This is our wall. This is our pole, right? This is what we got to use. We got to pitch against this to let all the stuff in the car, AKA the ball and your arm and everything else, come around and throw that ball, right? If we're just slowly tapping on the brakes, our arm's not going to create any speed. Our torso's not going to have any speed. Our hips are not going to get finished quick enough, right? But if we do pitch against this front leg the right way or well enough, then we're going to stop that energy, that linear energy that we created, and it's actually going to help our hips finish. So it's going to create a little more hip speed, which is going to create more separation, which is going to create a little more shoulder speed, which is going to create more velocity out of our hand. Now, here's where the two big issues lie. What I see a lot of pitchers doing at every age in the game is when they land, they either collapse this way with their knee so they continue moving forward, they're not bracing up, or they collapse this way and their knee starts to track out. I don't know if you can see it from this camera angle. Let me show you as if I was pitching to you. I'm here, I land, my knee either tracks out forward or tracks out this way, right? If guys don't have the strength or stability or mobility in their hips and their legs, then they could leak out this way or leak forward, right? We don't want that. You'll see a lot of high velocity pitchers actually when they land with a slight bend, but as they get to release point, their leg totally straightens out, right? That's that pole vault, that's that wall. These high velocity pitchers are doing this because they create velocity that way, right? They've created the energy from the ground, their angled corkscrew, going forward, and then they stop that energy so it can continue up the kinetic chain more efficiently. Does that make sense? If we just even if you create great energy, you have a good angled corkscrew, and you create good energy forward, but you collapse, you're leaking so much pitching velocity, right? We have to have both of these things. The two most overlooked aspects of the pitching delivery, the angled corkscrew and the front leg fulcrum, super important. You got to learn how to do them correctly, and you got to do both of them, right? You can't have one without the other. The great thing about the King of the Hill too is you can actually use this tool for the front leg as well. And this is going to tell you if you're bracing up well enough or not. You could actually take the rubber off, unscrew it. It comes with an Allen wrench. You just unscrew it, the rubber, so then you just got the whole plate right there. You got to obviously measure out how far you're striding, but then you can stride onto it. And if you're hearing that click when you're pitching, then you know that you braced up well enough. If you're kind of just running over it, you're not going to get the same audio feedback and visceral feedback from the tool as if you were to really pitch against your front side. Obviously, you can tighten up the tension on the spring there. It works on a spring system. So if you're a really strong guy, you're a professional pitcher, you can tighten it up to work for you. And if you're a young pitcher who, really doesn't have a lot of strength just yet, you can loosen it up all the way. I've used this tool with guys as young as 7 years old who are able to make it work for them. So it's a great tool, work for any age player. And again, the most important part of this is that you learn and understand how to use the angled corkscrew and the front leg fulcrum to increase your pitching velocity. Because if you master these things, like I said, you can instantly add 5 miles an hour or more just from these little tweaks, right? So work on it. You got to work on it. You can't just watch this video. Got to get out there and practice it, right? Practice this where you can, right? If you don't have a place to practice it, do it in the garage, do it in the basement, wherever you can. just get the job done, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys found this video helpful, please give me a quick thumbs up. If you didn't like it, you don't like me, whatever reason, give me a thumbs down. I want to know so I can change some things up if I need to. Probably won't, but I want the feedback. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Click the bell notification so you'll be notified every time I upload new videos. Got a bunch of great stuff coming real soon for you guys. Check out all the links in the description where you can find the King of the Hill, portable pitching mounds, all the cool stuff that I sell on YouGoProBaseball.com to help you become a better pitcher, better baseball player. Again, thank you guys so much. If you want to let me know what you want to see next, hop down in the comments below and we'll talk down there. Thank you guys. You're good to go. You know, I'm 250 pounds right now. This thing is solid. It's not breaking.